Good morning, traders. Hope you had a pleasant 3-day weekend. Although you could theoretically have traded yesterday, which I actually did a little bit, just on some accounts that I didn't care about. Limited my take profits to about a point just because the ATR was so low yesterday morning. And I took a few trades. I took a trade this morning. I'll show that to you. Let's see. Overnight. So we're slowly trending up overnight, it looks like. Yeah, let's see here. Going back to last night, we did, so we had a sell-off. And around midnight, it looks like we had a reversal. And it's been trending up in a very large trend, though. A lot of movement, a lot of pullbacks. But in general, a bullish trend. And this morning, we had a couple of good trades. Let's see, where did if it's even on here. There it is, way back here. This trade here, this is where I meant to enter it, but with my trade copier, I had the in Ninja Trader, you can set to global simulation mode, and that's what I had, so it wouldn't fill the actual account. But then I re-entered it right here on this little white hash mark. So what we waited for had this nice pullback, or this nice little bearish trend, and we reversed. And we're looking for the reversal off the the 9 EMA, this yellow line. But I don't like to just take it right off of that because it can chop for a while. So I'll put a trend line below it and wait for it to break that trend line. And that's what happened here. So you see we have this little doji here break through. So I put my buy stop right here, one tick below this little doji bar. That's that little white triangle there. And again, because it's pre-market and the ATR still only 1.6, I went for 1 point. During the regular trading, I might take as much as 5 points, but this was pre-market, which I really don't even love trading, but I was a little bit, I just thought this looked like a nice setup. So I took it and immediately flushed that 1 point, and could have gotten more than that, obviously. Let me see here. That thing, it never went to 5 points, but it went to 3 3/4 points, 3.75 points. So that could have been 187.50 instead of the 50 I took out of it. All right. So anyway, so that was the trade of the morning. So theoretically, we're up $50. All right. So as far as going into the open, boy, that really, just while I was talking to you, this thing really moved up. But anyway, this was another trade, although I was getting set up for the stream, so I didn't take it. We had a halfway decent pull up here and a pull back to the 9. We could have went long right above this little red bar. So that would have been at 50, and that one would have went to 5 points easily. Although I probably wouldn't have done my take profit that high up pre-market with the ATR being so low. So anyway, so that would have been our 5 points. Yeah, right up here. Look at that, almost a perfect move to 5 points. That might have not ticked through. We might have had to endure this heat if we wanted to get the whole 5 points. That being said, we could have taken a little bit less, and then we could have got back in here. So what we could have done here was, again, draw our line right. I already have a line there. We have our line. Goes to the 20 EMA, bounces around a little bit. Now we've broken through. We take it either above this bar or tick above this bar. And you can see these were the same. So you wouldn't have gotten in until this nice green bar here. And you see, so that's at 4,014. So let's see what that would have been. right there. And yeah, we would have got our 5 points very easily. Another nice trade. Did not take that one though. All right, the market's going to open in 5 seconds. Here it comes. And there it is. And they're off. I spent the weekend kind of thinking about what kind of useful videos I might be able to do. I mean, the live trading is fine, and it's actually more for me than it is for anybody else because it makes me really talk through my trades and think about it, and also don't just ride them into the ground because that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? So it forces me to take my stops and move on to the next trade, etc. But as far as being useful information, I mean, does anybody really want to sit here and watch an hour and a half of used trades? Probably not. So, unless you're watching live, this has somewhat limited use. So I may edit these down to more useful information, just posting the trades. I guess even just simply putting timestamps on the trades might be helpful to people. But also, I'd like to make some videos just kind of explaining what I do, not necessarily to educate, but to just let people understand what they're looking at when they are watching the live trades, and see if any of it makes sense to them, and maybe get some feedback from people on those. So anyway, I'll be giving that some thought and putting together some videos of my strategies and that sort of thing, and maybe even some stuff about NinjaTrader that I've learned over the years that might be helpful to people that maybe I haven't seen videos about. Maybe even ones it's hard to conceive of a video that somebody hasn't made, but maybe my little twist on it would be helpful. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on here. We're gonna hold off for a little bit. Like, this is not a terrible setup, but this bar here, which at the moment would be our entry bar, this green one, I mean, we would have to enter way up here at 23.75. That's not reasonable, because then I would like to put my stop below this bar, and that is 23.50 to, that's 6 points, 5.5 point stop loss. That's excessive, considering we're probably, best case scenario is a 5 point take profit, so a 1-to-1, not the best, although it's better than being the opposite. So anyway, let's just sit and watch and see if something obvious shows its head. I do wish I would have taken this trade. This was a nice one right here where I put this bar. Did exactly what you hoped it would do, although it chopped a little more than I would have expected. There's a lot of guys that'll take these first entries off of the 9 or the 20, but I like to put that added layer of confirmation by just putting a trend line. So now what we've looked for is that not only is it rejecting the 9 and or the 21, it also is broken out of this short-term trend. No guarantees, of course, but that makes me gives me a little more confidence. But these long wicks here are a little distracting to me right now. I'm not sure what to make of that. It does seem to be rejecting the 20 at the moment. Well, maybe not. Let's keep an eye on it. That's why for a trader like me, it's best to wait, a few minutes. I mean, more aggressive traders will have no problem trading the open. Today was not a very violent open, was it? Here's 830 right here. I mean, so far our whole movement is pretty anemic. Yeah, so far our whole movement is 10 points from the open till now. But one thing is that if you've come here for fireworks, you're probably on the wrong channel, because I really am not a very aggressive trader. I look for very particular high probability trades, and probably the most high probability trade that you can think of is a second entry off of the 20 EMA in a clearly trending market. Those, I have no idea what the percentage is, but it's got to be high. And if you could make your entire, I believe that you could, if you could have the discipline to only trade those trades, actual second entries off of the 20 EMA in a trending market, you could be a profitable trader just off of that. Now, you may only get one or two of those in the morning, or zero, but because a second entry with those conditions doesn't come around a ton. And then, of course, your experience will tell you if even that second entry is a bad idea. Like perhaps you're looking at the volume profile, or perhaps you're looking at supply and demand. Maybe that, you look to the left and you see a big supply or demand area that we're going to be bumping into, and you might get you to stay out of that trade too. And everything you can do to reinforce that trade just increases your probability. And even if you miss out on a good trade, that means you also may have missed out on a bad trade. So you make some rules for yourself. Over time, you can tell whether they're good rules, and then you try to stick with them and just repeat them over and over and over. But what I also have learned is to declutter your charts. I mean, even this, I've got a lot of lines here, and these aren't really indicators per se. They're more supportive indicators, I guess. Like these are just the highs and the lows of the session, and some trend lines and some EMAs, and that's all we need. And then if you have trouble counting pullbacks, you could buy a program that'll count the legs for you, because it's a lot to deal with in the beginning, to be counting these legs. Where did it peak above, one tick above this bar, is it below this bar, is that a leg, is it not a leg, is it a hidden second entry? So it's a lot easier to just buy an indicator, and that's what I did. I'm a little bit better at just eyeballing them now than I used to be, but in the beginning I have an indicator that took a lot of that pressure off of me. This bar here, this was a second entry long here, but look at the very poor signal bar. It's a gigantic bearish bar here. So that would have been no use to you. Yeah, these wicks are just... it's hard to even draw a trend line with these wicks, in my opinion, because, depending on who you ask, do you draw them at the ends of the wicks? Do you draw them at the bodies? I mean, here we have a body here, but then we have a giant wick here. So where do you put that? Is it, is that it? Is that it? Is that it? I don't know. I'm sure somebody has an opinion on that, but not me. That probably is looking pretty like a halfway decent line, but now we've already breached the 20 EMA. Now we could consider a trade off of this 100 EMA, but you can see it's not really respecting it very much over here. Yeah, see, it's just cutting through it. So right now I'm not confident that that's a good trade. Now what we could consider is taking, if we're confident in this line here that I just drew, we can wait for it to reject this 100 and reject this trend line, and then take it long. But I can honestly tell you, I don't know how I feel about that right now. So when I feel like that, I just skip the trade. we can. I'm going to start looking for trades now. We've let this market settle down for about 10 minutes. And now we'll take a look at what's it's going to present to us. But yeah, just clean charts. I mean, there's guys that actually trade naked charts. These are not naked charts, obviously. But, you know, and swear that we don't need any indicators. You just watch the price action. But that doesn't really work for me. Not yet anyway. Maybe as time goes by, I'll need fewer and fewer marks. I really like EMAs, and part of the reason for that is everybody seems to play them, so it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy that they'll react to those because everybody's taking their trades off of them. So the trick is to try to get in before everybody else so that you're at the top of the queue. Yeah, so this trend line seems like it's fairly accurate. But we're setting up for a reversal here, it looks like. Now we're breaking all the EMAs. And again, rule of thumb for me is once we start operating below this 105 EMA, which as I've mentioned in the past is nothing more than the 21 EMA on a 5-minute chart. So it's 5 times bigger on a 1-minute chart. But we'll see. Right now, it can't make up its mind whether it's going to break below the 105 or we're going to reverse. I'm almost inclined to take a small trade above wherever this bar closes if it closes up above my trend line. Right now, we're looking at... the high of that bar is 1550. It's still a little higher now. 1625. So 1650. That would be our long. Not sure how I feel though. That's a nice bullish bar though. So this bar closed at 1625. So a tick above that is 1650 right there. Unfortunately, we would be in that trade right now. Why can't I pull the trigger on this trade? I don't know. Yeah, I think this is going to go. So we get in here at 1650 and perhaps we even see a test of this high. But you can see where right now we're just kind of chopping along it. So maybe that is not a good trade. Yeah, it's definitely not turning out to be too good. I'm glad I didn't jump in there. What kept me out of it, I have no idea. Now, another strategy with these 100s is if there's some evidence that it is holding, you know, if I would see that we had consistent bounces off of the 100 going into the night, you know, looking left on the chart, then you'll wait for it to break through the 100 EMA and then put your buy a tick or two above it. And when it returns, then we take it. And that's usually good for a point or two. So that's more, to me, that's more of a scalp than anything. Not, I mean, when I say scalp, I mean like a 1 pointer, like a really quick in and out. And of course that would have worked back here. We would have gotten in somewhere around here. And all we wanted was a point. And that did that with no problem. You could have gotten 4 points out of that trade. That's what throws me off too, is like the bars are in weird proportions compared to the pre-market. I mean, to me, that looked like a point. That was like 5 points, this bar here. But I'm used to looking at this for the last hour, so I have to readjust my thinking. We're still chopping here, but we would have still been in this trade because our stop would have been at least at 1350. No, we would have got stopped out right here. How about that? But yeah, she's going. And we would have wanted to get, let's see here, we would have went long right there. So there's our 5 points. That's what we're looking for right there. That's the 5 point mark right there. Actually, that's wrong, isn't it? Yeah. There we go. Didn't make it yet. But again, you know, I'd like to keep things simple. I know there's a lot of complicated trading strategies out there on YouTube, but the more complication you add in, the more, in my opinion, the more likelihood that you miss something. It's like, okay, everything's lined up. All 400 of my indicators have lined up. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I only lined up 399 of them, and then the trade fails. This, to me, is a much simpler strategy. We're basically just playing pullbacks, and then to confirm those pullbacks, we use some of the other strategies that other guys teach, like supply and demand, support and resistance, EMAs. I mean, all these stuff, opening price, you know, low, the high. We try to factor those in and see how's that going to affect this trade. Is that going to blow up this trade? You know, looking back to the left, you know, is it respecting the moving averages today? Are we trending, or is it in a range? I hate ranges. Guys like Mac, they said they live for ranges because they just buy the bottom and sell the top. And it's like, well, to me, I just never know where the hell the top and the bottom are. Like here, are we in a range now? So are we heading back up to here, or are we not? Are we still in a trend? Now, we had a trend here that I had marked out earlier. And clearly, obviously, we had a breakout of that trend, which failed, pulled back in, went right back to the bottom of the trend, and now we're breaking out the top again. So now are we in a range from here to here? I don't know yet. But I avoid them just because I've been chopped up. So clearly I just can't read them like they need to be read. But this trade would have still been working on. We probably would pull up our stop to trail this up in the hopes that we will reach our 5 points. And it looks like we're going to do it. Yep, look at that. Ticked through it. And that would have been a 5-pointer. That was from the top of this bar. And you see what I'm saying is I draw a trend, and once it breaks the trend, now we can start talking about taking along. A lot of the price action traders will say, well, since a breakout of a trend tends to fail, you wouldn't want to go long there. You'd stay out of it. But in my experience, this is still good for a movement. Even though we may not go all the way to the top, we may pull back and get our new low. This area here that we had is still tradable. It doesn't mean that you don't have to, that you stay out of it just because it broke the trend. And again, this is my opinion. And I should also just remember, I am just some random guy on the internet, so don't copy my trades. This is more of me talking to myself to talk myself through the trades, and you get whatever you get out of it, but please don't take trades based on what I say. More of things that make you go, right, I'm a little irritated with myself that I didn't take these trades already, because now we have to wait. I can remove this. And by the way, as I was saying earlier about I'm trying to think of videos that I can make that would be helpful to people other than this live stream. So if you have any ideas, either put it in the chat or email it to me. There should be a link on there somewhere. It's just journeyintothefutures@gmail.com, or there must be a link on the page somewhere, or just put in the chat something that you think might be useful, and I'll see if I can figure out a informative way to make a video of it. Because these live streams are only good to a point. They're great if you're. I think they're useful for if you're actually trading with me live. But are people really going to come back tomorrow and watch these old trades? Have to weed through an hour and a half. So at the very least, I think I'm going to go back and start putting timestamps on where the trades are. So if you pull up this video tomorrow, you can just forward. You'll just be able to click to get to the trade and not have to listen to it. Although I'm sure that my commentary is very valuable to people. All right, let's see what's happening here. We did have a bit of a pullback. So I wish this bar here wasn't so violently long, because now I'd like to have my stop down here, but my entry would be above it. So now we've got this, absolutely huge stop loss on this thing, which, yeah, that's almost a 5-point stop loss. That's no good for me, because I'm only hoping to get 5 points, and we'd like to get more than a 1-to-1 ratio. I kind of, a 3-point stop is about as much as I feel like. And again, some guys will just say, well, I'm just going to put the 3 stop. But I think you're going to more likely get stopped out if you put it above the bottom of this. If you're only into this thing here and then you put your stop up here, I think you're going to, well, you would have. I mean, just look at it. It's huge. All right, so maybe the top of this channel is starting to act as resistance. I'm sorry, support. Possibly. I do think we're going up, so could even entertain the idea of the top of this little bar here. But I still feel like I would want to put my stop loss down here. Yeah, I think it's going to go without me. So if this bar was, so 1875, that's where we would have got into it. Looks a little choppy right now, but it did break this trend nicely. Yeah. Damn, why am I so tentative today? I think it's from being off 3 days. Like you get out of the groove, you get out of the flow of what's going on here. So we had this bullish move up, and we had a pretty good pullback. I don't know if I would call that smooth, but then once we broke this trend line, we start thinking about reversal. So then our trade would have been here, and once again, beautiful trade, worked out perfectly. 18 and a quarter, 1875. Yeah, there's our 5 points. What is the matter with me today? That's 10 points we just left on the table. That's $500 per contract. One of the problems is one of the accounts that I'm trading today is a evaluation count that has something like $250 left to become a PA account, and I don't want to blow it up with only $250 to go. But ironically, that I did not finish it because of my insecurity here. So we kind of knew it was going to test this high. Now we're going to see where it goes from here. We're only 25 minutes into this trading day, so we should have some new opportunities. Like for instance, this guy here, it's a pretty nice bullish trend. So now we'll be waiting for it to pull back to this 9 EMA, the yellow line, and see how that works. Get rid of this. This is played out. This is played out. All right. And probably this channel is no longer useful, although the top of this channel could start to turn into support on the way down, which lines up with this 20 EMA. So we have a couple of spots where we could call this a key entry point. Two key entry points, the top of this channel and the 20 EMA. So I hesitant to go long at the highs here, though, you know, because that's a halfway decent pullback. But so if we start to draw a trend line here, possibly see how that looks. It's kind of vertical, so don't know if it's valid or not. This is a higher low on the 2000 tick. The 1 minute. Yeah, I don't know. At the very least, I'd want to see it break this line before I go long. Yes, this is a higher low, obviously. But now this current bar is kind of bearish, so we'll see if that actually turns out to be a lower high. I'm sorry, a lower low. I just find this, to just draw this little trend line on a pullback is such a simple thing, but it actually just really helps you from FOMOing into these pullbacks. Because again, you'll listen to other guys that will tell you, yeah, as soon as it rejects the 20 EMA or rejects the 9 EMA, go long, or if we're coming up from the bottom, go short. But you like to have some other kind of confirmation that this thing's reversing. See, now we're kind of breaking this, but this is only 3 bars that make this line, and it's so vertical. You know, you kind of like to see this thing more like at a 45-degree angle. And I suppose you could, just not enough bars to confirm this, in my opinion. Because this may actually be the line here now that I'm looking at these 2 bars. Let's see what the 5-minute looks like here. And you can, all these things that we're talking about on the 1 minute, we can actually apply to the 5 minute, but you're going to have to endure bigger drawdown just because the bars are 5 times as big. I mean, 5 times as long. So you'll be incorporating the entire movement of 5 of the 1 minute bars. So it's best to use the higher time frames, in my opinion, to kind of give you an indication of market direction and whatnot, and then take your trades off of the smaller time frames. So now this is starting to look kind of interesting, I suppose. But again, we are really close to these tops. So what I'm sort of imagining happening is we might test this one last time and then head down. But the other problem is that maybe this is a double top and we're just futzing around here, and we're going to have this M pattern where we came up, came down, back up, double top, down we go. the moment, I can't say. So even though I haven't taken any trades, I'm at least getting my ideas across as to what you might consider looking at when a trade is setting up. Now, whether you have the confidence or the balls to actually take that trade, that's on you, but clearly I did not have them. Yeah, see, that was nice then. So again, same deal. Pull back, wait for it to break our little trend line. Trick here is to be confident in that trend line, and we had 3 hits on it. Wait for this bar to close. We would have went, that bar is at 40.20, so 40.20 and a quarter is right there. So we would have got in there, and you can see shot up. It's a pretty decent strategy, I think. But don't copy my trades. Yeah, look at that. We got that 5 points. Look at that. That's 5 points. I can't believe that that's 5 points. It looks so small. All right, so that's 3 trades that we called out that worked out for 5 points. So that would have been $750 per contract. But you can go back and look through this chart, whether it's overnight. Now the size of the move will be much smaller overnight, obviously, but you can just draw these trend lines, and they work pretty consistently. The pullbacks, you know, I think my experience is that it's a mistake to just take the pullback off of an EMA and assume it's going to move. I like that extra confirmation that it broke this little short-term trend line. Again, it just takes a little more, it takes some experience and just getting used to drawing this trend line, because it's not like these gigantic trend lines that, like this one, where we can say, well, okay, it hit here, it hit here, it hit here. We're only dealing with 2, 3, 4, 5 bars. And you can see that now we've got new highs. And we are actually positive on the day. So going into this day, I would have actually voted for a bearish day, and it's turning out to be a little bit on the bullish side, isn't it? Ever since open, we've been on an uptrend. Yeah, well, we pulled back at the open, and now we're heading up. But now I'm hesitant to take any trades, because taking trades at the highs of the day is risky, in my opinion. But another thing that I've gained over time is not caring if I don't take a trade, knowing that there's always another day, there's always another trade that comes up, whether it's today or tomorrow or whenever. It's not that big of a deal. Better to not take a trade than to have a big losing day, in my opinion. Yeah, this guy's really taken off. So that trade would have worked out perfectly. There's the, so, and I hate that I do this all the time, but it's, again, whether I make money or not is neither here nor there for you guys. You just want to get some ideas on how I trade. And I think I'm trying to explain what that trade could have been. Now, if you could have taken it, and again, I'm at a slight disadvantage just because I'm definitely trading this P&L on this evaluation account that only has a couple $100 left to complete, and I hate the idea of going backwards on it. And ironically, that's what's causing me to not finish it. I shouldn't be thinking like that. Let's see, so 21.25. Yeah, look at that. That's a 13 point move. $650. There's our new high for the day, 34-ish. 40.34. Let's see. Wish I could like show all these screens at the same time, but because I have a 2,000 tick chart to my left here that I also glance over to see how things are going. The tick charts are particularly useful in a slow moving market because then the bars only form based on number of trades, whereas obviously the time based ones are 1 minute bar. And then if it's one trade or 1,000 trades, it all happens and it stays in that bar. So I'm glancing over to my 2,000 tick chart too to keep an eye on that, especially for two-legged pullbacks, second entries. I like to take those off of the 2,000 tick chart. So we are at new highs on the day, so it's a little bit. I'm a little bit cautious up here to take longs, only because longing the high of the day can be risky. Even the pullbacks, I don't know how reliable they are or how reliable they will be. And once again, we can start drawing some trend lines. There's really not much to go by yet. I'll hold off just not to confuse myself. Another good thing about drawing trend lines is it keeps you from making bad trades. Gives you something to do while you're waiting for a good setup. So something along those lines. Is that a break of that trend? Maybe. Have multiple hits. Bing, 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 bing. Breakout. Failure. So we do have a pullback to this 9 EMA. Did touch it, it appears. So now maybe, I'm not sure I'd be confident. Well, 32 gets us to there. That's 5 points. But we do want, I'm going to wait for this if this trend line holds up, I would wait for this to breach it, and then we'll take that long possibly. But let's keep an eye on it. Right now, we don't even know if our trend line here is proper. Yeah, it's not much to go by. Now, theoretically, if you were doing this more simply, you would just go long at 31, but and we are really close to these highs. At 31, we'd have to have a new high to get our 5 points. I'm going to stay out of it. So now we could be looking at 31.5 for our long right here, because we did have our pullback. We touched the 9 EMA, and now we've broken our little trend line, if it's accurate. We don't have a lot to go by here. This is not a real clean trend, so that's one reason to perhaps stay out of it. I like to, it's a lot easier. Like for instance here, now there are a lot of wicks here, but we can identify a trend based on quite a few bars. So now we did break our 105 EMA, and then it broke this trend line. Now we can start thinking about taking a long here, and you can see that worked out well. It's a fairly simple strategy. I mean, and so much of trading comes down to psychology, not being stressed out by your trade and hesitating to get into it like I'm doing this morning, and just trying to look at the bigger picture experience where, yes, mechanically these things all added up, but I'm looking to the left and I see, supply and demand, or we're at the highs of the day, so are we going to continue to go up, or are we going to double top this and head back down? So that just comes with looking at charts for days, weeks, months, and years. I've been staring at these stupid charts for every day, literally every trading day for 3 years, and still am nowhere near being an expert. Better than I was 3 years ago, for sure. For a long time, I traded on sim, and like most new traders, I was a sim millionaire because you have no fear, and you just reset the account if you have a massive loss. So you always feel like you're this great trader because, if things go south on you, I was just screwing around there, so that one doesn't count. Let's reset it. And then you start over, and you make mental note of the massive wins, and you completely delete the losers in your brain. Where in my opinion, what sim is extremely good for when you're just getting started is to learn how to operate your platform. In this case, I use NinjaTrader, but of course there's lots of other platforms you could be using. The sim allows you to really dial in how to use your platform, because there's enough to think about to get into a trade so that but fighting with your platform, like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? While you're trying to get into a trade is just suicide. Yeah, I don't know, this trend line here, I don't know where it doesn't really look like a trend line, maybe something like that, but you would have got a little something out of this. You could have got a few points, but that's about it. And there's plenty of guys that just scalp for 1 point, 2 points. 1 point's very common. That's what Mac does. Bye Money does. And they're all price action traders, two-legged pullbacks. Tom Wade will usually go for about 10 ticks. That's 2.5 points. But they all are. It's like a cult of these two-legged pullback guys. I just don't think that you should. I don't think I want to limit myself to only taking second entry longs or second entry shorts. I mean, I'm sure it's a high probability trade, but it's not the only one in my opinion. Yeah, so this thing it never did get to a new high, so I'm glad we didn't take anything here. Like I said, we could have picked up a point, but if we didn't get out quickly, this thing's reversed really fast. So now we'll sit and watch. We are well above the 100 EMA, so we're still going to be thinking about longs, but I think we need to really watch this thing because, again, this M pattern is pretty common, where it'll come up, pull back, go up, and then continue on down. If you're getting any entertainment value from this stream, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and maybe hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified whenever I go live. Also, if you're interested in, I trade with Apex. I don't use any of my own money, and it's worked out great because now even if you're a new trader, you've limited your risk to just the cost of your monthly fee, and now they have an 80% lifetime sale going on for the rest of the week. And if you decide that you want to try it out, I appreciate if you use my code. That doesn't cost you anything more, but a little something goes to me to help support this channel. I'd kind of like to get some more equipment for so I can get have a camera and lighting and that sort of thing, so I can broadcast myself. Maybe make it feel a little more a little more personal if you see me. And again, that'll obviously cost money, and use my code to get yourself an Apex account. That helps me out a little bit. Appreciate it. And of course, please subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the bell icon. We're just kind of chopping around here, so I'm going to hold off on some trades. Hold off on a trade, I should say. Now we may be coming back in this channel, and then we'll see some support here at the bottom. We got the 21 EMA, but again, we could also be in a we could be ranging right here. But that works out to pretty good too, because now even if this is a range, and this is the 21 EMA, we are at the bottom of that range, so this could be useful. This is a higher low. This is an engulfing bar. This guy here. Let's see what our trend line looks like, if anything. Maybe something like that. Yeah, this is it's not a second entry, but it is intriguing. This could be a trap too. Trap in some longs here and then flush it. I'd be more comfortable if this were a second entry. This bar is so big. I wouldn't mind going in long above it if it weren't so damn long, so damn big, because then I'd want to put my stop way down here at 27, and that's 31, so that's over a 4-point stop loss. All we're hoping for is a 5-point take profit, so that's only a 1-to-1 best case scenario. So that is not for me. Took one trade pre-market. I took a point out of it, $50. That's it. And then we missed out on at least 3 perfect setups here that for some reason I did not feel comfortable taking. And I think the reason is because I'm within a couple $100 of finishing one of my evaluation accounts, and was more afraid of losing money than finishing the account. Yeah, this really didn't. If you would have taken this, it would have burned you bad, because there's one tick above this bar, and you would have filled and almost immediately began your pullback. Now, what we would have our stop down, that we wouldn't have been stopped out yet, but we would have definitely been down as much as 3 points. That would have been, if we took a 3-point stop, we would have been out, but I'm more inclined to take my stops below this swing low. And even though you would have taken some heat, we're still in this trade. But now it's getting a bit choppy, and we do seem to be in a bit of a trading range here. Something like that. Now, an aggressive trade would have been to just wait for this pullback to this 20 EMA, and then as soon as it broke above it a tick or two, then go ahead and assume, if you felt confident in this trading range, you would have had 2 key entry points to play with. We had this 2 hits on the bottom of this range, the 20 EMA, and that's exactly what happened. So even if you would have taken it at the top of this bar, which that would not have been a trade I've been interested in, you would have made a few bucks. But the trade here was these 2 key entry points. And it did hit the top of that trading range pretty accurately. So we're going to break out of it, or are we coming back to the bottom? If you're getting any entertainment value from this, I appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, maybe hit that bell icon to get notified when I go live every morning. I would appreciate it. You could be number 9 subscribing to this up-and-coming channel. Maybe you just come to this channel to listen to the awesome music. Or maybe you come to hear my soothing DJ voice. The moment we definitely seem to be caught in a range here. Some traders play this trading range pretty well, sell the tops, buy the bottoms. Could have done it here, buy it here, sell it here, buy it here, sell it there, buy it here, sell it there. That worked out pretty good for you. Might be even inclined to go short here at the top of this range. I've got a long history of getting chopped up in ranges, so I'm just going to stay out of it. In my opinion, trading doesn't have to be complicated. Now, see, as a perfect example, I would have probably, if I shorted this, that's exactly what would have happened. Although, look at it, it's coming right back into it. So, they say that breakouts of trading ranges usually fail. So this is the first breakout of it. So I think that you can have some confidence that we're going to pull back, maybe not to the bottom of it, but certainly to the 9 or the 20 EMA, I would think. So yeah, so this breakout looks like it failed. So you could have gone short once it came back into the range, hoping that it's going to make its way back down to the bottom of the range, which looks like what's happening here. In fact, you didn't need to follow it all the way down to the bottom of the range. I mean, you could have, come in around here, a tick below, You're already in good for 2 points. 5 points is 3/4 of the way back into the range. I do like the 5-point moves. I like that's what, 20 ticks. It's somewhat aggressive, but on the trades I like to take, 20 ticks is pretty likely. It's a pretty good chance you'll get them on a decent trending day. But as I said, a lot of guys are happy with 1 point, and you can make some money with 1 point. That's $50 per contract. If you're only playing with one contract, do it 3 times in a day. It's $150 before 10 o'clock in the morning. If you still have a full-time job, maybe that's a nice little supplement for you. You figure even $150 a day. I think there's something like 245 trading days if you cut out holidays. That's what, $35,000, over $35,000 a year, just with 3 1-point trades a day. The problem I have with 1-point trades, though, is that your stop loss is always going to be bigger than your take profit, and that to me is a dangerous formula, because I can't be 100% positive on my trades. I can't make every one of them. So that means if I've got a 2-point stop loss and a 1-point take profit, I've got to win 2 to every 1 loss just to break even, and that's hard, I think. Because there's definitely live traders out there that just take massive stop losses, and they're willing to go down $1,000 just to make 100. I mean, that to me is unsustainable. And I suspect most of them are making most of their money off of YouTube, and whether they're even trading live accounts or it's just simulated accounts, who knows? And it doesn't matter. What has to make sense to you when you're watching me or anybody else is the trade. It doesn't matter what kind of account I'm trading. Is it a PA account? Is it simulated? Is it an evaluation account? It doesn't matter. It's the trade that matters. Because it doesn't matter if you're trading micros. If the trade is good, you can always scale up. If you have a good strategy, you can always scale up. You start with micros. Then you go to 2 micros, you go 5 micros, and then you go to a mini, which is basically 10 micros. And then if you consistently have a strategy that works, you can go to 2 E-minis and 3. And so, yeah, you can. It all is about the trade. It doesn't matter how much I made. It doesn't matter that, I make $50 or $500. It's about the trade. You need to come up with a strategy that makes you happy, because even strategies that work for one person doesn't click in the mind of another person. I mean, the strategies that I use, they click in my head. I mean, I've watched 1,000 strategies and they may all work, but I struggle to see what these people are seeing. The stuff that you see me do, that's the stuff that I see. It makes sense to me. And I think part of it is because I'm not a genius, so I need things to be fairly simple. And even that means I miss 100 trades a day. The ones that I do see need to be high probability. And these pullbacks, almost all strategies are some form of a pullback, in my opinion. Some are more complicated than others. Like, for instance, as I've said 100 times on these live broadcasts, these pullbacks to the 9 EMA, you can keep it that simple. We have a nice bullish trend, a clean pullback to the 9. As soon as it touches, you go long above that bar that touched. That's probably still a better than 50-50 trade. I like to add one other level to it, and that is a little bit of a trend line, and wait for not only for it to touch the 9, but also break the trend line. And what that does for me too is bounces off of the 20 will also get picked up on that. So if it continues on beyond the 9, and then touches the 20 and breaks through my trend line, now I've picked up that bounce, because if I would have gone long off the 9, it still pulled back to the 20. And that doesn't always happen, but if you have your trend line, you won't go long prematurely off this 9, in my opinion. Now we could even start thinking about putting a trend line here. Now we are below the 20 EMA, which can indicate that we are starting to reverse. But we can put our trend line in here and see what that looks like. Something along those lines, maybe. So we could consider a trade long above this bar, for instance, which would be 31.50. So right here. But it's good to just be patient and see if this is going to, our trend line is accurate. So it's still continuing to go down, and now we are below this 21 EMA, which makes me a little bit skeptical about going long. And unfortunately, in my mind, this is kind of a no man's zone because we are above the 105 EMA, which is my indicator for going long. But we're below all the other EMAs, the 9 and the 21, which would indicate to go short. So now we have conflicting information here. That doesn't mean it's a no trade zone, but it takes some more thought. All right, so our trend line is more like that. So I think the next move we probably should be looking for is a short. I don't know. So now we could be thinking about a pullback. Yeah, I don't think that. I think we're going to, for as long as we're above this 105 EMA, I think I'm going to be thinking about longs. But we'll keep watching it. I don't have any, I don't want to just say, here's what we're going to do, and that's just the way it is. If this is below this, this is below that. And it's a lot more fluid than that, in my opinion. So now we've broken out of this range to the top, rejected, that breakout failed. Now we'll see if this breakout also fails. We're still positive on the day, but look at, we're only about 7 points positive. So this is where it gets, I have conflict in my head about whether to go long or short, because I can make the argument for a pullback to these EMAs and continuing down, but I can also see that this is just a failed breakout of this range and we head back up. So in that case, I'm not going to take a trade, only because I can see both sides of it. And if I can see both sides of it, then it's just I'm flipping a coin as to whether I'm going to go long or short. We'll keep this going until about 11 a.m. Eastern time. That's about 25 minutes or so. Hopefully I'll take a trade live. Just because I end the stream at 11 a.m. Eastern, that doesn't mean I'm done for the day. I'll continue to trade. Possibly. I mean, I keep my eye on things in the entire day, all the way till 4 o'clock close of the New York Stock Exchange. But right now, I just feel like we're in a no man's land. I don't know if we're going to pull back and then continue lower, or we're just going to go right back into this range here and head to the top of it. So we'll just be patient here. In general, I tend to want to be going long with being above the 105 EMA, but the point is that we do eventually, that doesn't mean that we're not going to continue down and hit it and bounce off of it or pass through it. So I don't have any trades right now. I have no setups. If you're getting any entertainment value from this stream, I appreciate it if you subscribe and hit that like button. And also maybe hit the bell icon so you'll get notified when I go live in the morning. Also, let me take another opportunity to let you know that I trade only with Apex trader funding. And that I personally, if I were doing this from the beginning, I've lost a lot of money out of my personal accounts in the early days. And those would have been eliminated or minimized if I was with a funded trading program like this, because my risk was limited to my monthly payment, and that monthly payment is 80% off until the end of the week, I guess until Monday or something like that. And if you use my code that you see up on the screen, I'd appreciate it. That gives me a little kickback on that and allows me to support this station. I wanted to get some more equipment so I can put together a better production for you guys. But if you want to give it a try, go ahead and do that. You can do it for, I think the 80% on a 50K account is under $40. And that's for life, as long as it takes you to complete the evaluation. I think it's apextraderfunding.com. All right, so we are continuing to move down. This trend line is definitely pretty accurate. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So what we can do is wait for it to breach this trend line and then see what that looks like. We are below these EMAs here, which makes it a little bit difficult to do that, because no matter what direction we're going, it's a good chance we're going to bounce off of these at least a little bit. So if we were to go long here, we might not be able to pick up much, because it's going to head up to the 9 or the 21 EMA in reverse anyhow. So I think we'll just sit on our hands a little bit and see if this is going to play out. If we're going to bounce off of this 101 EMA and continue up, or are we going to just break down, and then we'll be definitely looking for shorts below this 101 EMA. I'm sorry, 105 EMA. This is the kind of stuff I want to make a video of, so you know what I'm talking about. This, the 3 EMAs I have on my screen are this turquoise one. That's a 21 EMA. This is a 1-minute chart you're looking at here. The yellow one is a 9 EMA, and this red one is 105 EMA. Why 105 EMA? If you go over to the 5-minute chart to the right, 105 divided by 5 is 21, and that's the 21 EMA on the 5-minute. So to place that 21 EMA from the 5-minute onto a 1-minute, you just make it 5 times bigger. So that's why this is 105. And I use that mainly to determine my bias. If I'm above this, I tend to want to take long trades. If I'm below it, I tend to want to short. Not hard and fast rules, but if you're looking for a formula, you can apply that, I suppose. And again, I'm going to put together some strategy videos to show you what I'm thinking. But for goodness sakes, please do not copy my trades, because I'm just some random guy on the internet. And I'm mainly doing this to help myself stay out of trouble. And when you're just all by your lonesome self here trading, your mind starts to wander and you take trades that seem to make sense at the moment, but in hindsight don't. So when you have to talk through every single trade, it makes it easier on a live broadcast, because even though I don't have many followers yet, at some point I hope to. And when I'm in front of, a few people, I'm definitely more cautious and try to only walk my talk. So we are really dumping here now. We are broken below the 105. So now we might be able to, once these EMAs catch up, remember all an EMA is an average of the last 105, 9, or 21 bars. And EMA versus an SMA is truly just a simple moving average. It's the average of those bars. The EMA, and I don't fully know the math behind it, but somehow it is a little more weighted towards the more current bars. Wow, that it really broke down. So what is going on here? So now I think we can probably think about a short here if we get a smooth move back. This is too erratic. I don't feel confident in a trade, but if we can get a series of higher highs leading back into this 9 EMA, then we could think about taking a short off rejection of it. Wow, this has just gone crazy here, hasn't it? I don't see anything newsworthy coming across my news feed here. I don't know. Of course, it's not the biggest bar in the world, but it was pretty aggressive compared to what's been going on for the last half an hour. Or 15 minutes, I guess. I'm looking at the 5 minute. Well, we can go all the way back to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a half hour, yeah. Well, let's just watch it, see what happens. So now what I'm imagining is maybe a pullback to, that's not right, I'm sorry. I'm used to the longs this morning. So now what we're going to be waiting for is perhaps a pullback to this 9, and hopefully we'll get nice stair step higher highs back to it. And then we'll also see if we can pull a trend line off of it to see if it coincides with the 9. There's quite a few good trades today, all of them based on pullbacks to the 9, and then also incorporating our trend line. We'll be here until 11 a.m. Eastern. That's about another 15 minutes. So hopefully we'll see something interesting by then. What in the world is this song? I'll move on from that. All right, here we go. We'll start to look at this trend line, see if it forms properly. So far we had nice lower high, lower high, lower high. And now we're looking for higher highs into this 9 EMA. Now we've got a nice setup here because now even our 21 and our 105 are lining up. So it's very unlikely that we're going to rip right through that. Not impossible, of course. Nothing's impossible. But probability tells me that we have a good chance of bouncing off of this area. And you can see this is our old trend line, our channel from earlier today. We left it on the screen, and it can still be valid now. You can see it kind of got to the bottom, rejected it. So it could, if we got up to here, there's a very good odds of a short because we have the 105 EMA, we've got the 21 EMA, and we've got this old channel line, which on its own might not be valuable, but these three lined up together, I think gives us pretty good odds if it were to get up that high. Now it's unfortunate that this red bar here did not end up being a higher high. We like to see this thing stair step nice and cleanly back up into here before we'll take our short. But we'll watch it. We might still have the confidence, especially if it gets all the way back up to the 21 EMA. I think we have a pretty good chance for a short there. This is sort of a mini head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder, which would tend to want to go up from there. But we'll see. If you have any ideas for videos that you think might be useful, shoot me an email or just put it in the chat, and I'll see if I can do that. I'm looking for it to expand beyond just these live streaming sessions because they have somewhat limited appeal. You know, I think they're most useful if you're watching them live. Afterwards, I don't know how useful they are. So I'd like to put together some other videos, whether that's how to use NinjaTrader or how to set up Apex or my strategies, that sort of thing. Whatever, if you think of any of that might be helpful, just let me know. All right, so we did breach this. We are beyond this trend line. Let's make sure that this trend line even makes sense, though. I guess it sort of does. So the low was at 1475, so 1450 possible short. I'm sorry, is that wrong? Yeah, that's wrong. Low, so 1450, yeah, right there. 1450. Is that risky? 1450, be all the way down here at 9. You know, seems like a reasonable trade. Up here might be better though, off the 21 instead of the 9. Because let me check this. This could actually be the trend line here. So we may not have beat that trend line yet. That looks like a better trend line. So let's wait to go short until it breaks this. And with any luck, this will just ride this channel up until we hit the 21 and the 105. And now we've got a couple of different indications that we should go short. But yeah, this trend line looks like that lines up better, doesn't it? So my idea is we had a nice bearish trend down, and then we had a pretty smooth pullback. Not ideal. We'd like to see consistent higher highs, but in general, it's a pretty nice pullback. And whether it's the 9 or the 21 EMA, we've breached it, so we have a valid trade if we come below this trend line, in my opinion. But let me remind you not to copy my trades. I am not a professional trader. All right, so now we've broken this, so we might consider this. What's the low here? That's 1650, so 1625 would be our entry once this closes. So we'll watch this bar. I don't hate the way this is setting up. I think this was a pretty reasonable trend line. Let's see, so 1625 is still our entry point. We got about 10 seconds left on this bar. Low 1625. So 16. Let's go short here. See what happens. We're in this trade, and we're going to go up one more tick here. See what happens. I would have liked to see that move more quickly. Come on, baby, move down. Let's go. Come on, you can do it. What's the high of this bar here? High of that bar, so we want it at 19, which is where we have it. Okay. I'm hoping for 5 points on this, but the bottom of this trend, I'm hoping, is not going to act as resistance. Once we get a little meat on this, then we're going to move our stop down to break even, but right now we'll just get stopped out if I do that. And it looks like this does not want to cooperate. What bothers me about leaving my stop here is it's right at the 21. I wonder if I should let this breathe a little bit more. Gotta hate that, because if it does go against me, that's a huge loss. But it's likely, if it pulls back, it's likely to hit this 21 and then reverse. Try to pick up some stops here. So I'm going to give it a little bit more room to breathe here. That's about 5. That's a 1-to-1. And once we get some movement to the downside, then I'll feel more confident to bring my stop down. But I hate to just have it reverse on me to here just to have it go back down anyway. Right now I'm thinking about just skunking this because it's getting all choppy. But I'll be a little more patient. We'll see what happens. I would have hoped it would have taken off a little bit faster here. All right, let's move our stop now to break even plus a tick. Yeah, it looks like it might stop us out here. I think I'm just going to take my, well, let's see. I'm just going to take what I can get here. I think it's using this bottom of this trend line as support. Now it could still continue down, but I just didn't want to leave this trade with zero. We end up with only about, after commissions, 83.52 on that trade, which is not great, obviously, but you can see where this is where you have to kind of watch what's going on, because you can't just be blind. I want my 5 points, because there are other things, other obstacles, like this trend line here. If you remember, this was a nice channel that had been forming that we broke out of, and a lot of times that will come back into play later, and that's what's happening here. But you can see now it's reversing, and we probably would have been okay. I just didn't want to leave this day with nothing. Okay, I chickened out. You got me. But yeah, if we would, let's draw our lines where 5 points would end up. 5 points is right there. So I'll put my cursor there. That white line, that's our 5 points. So basically where we got out right there. And we'll see. I'm starting to feel like it will actually test those lows again. I mean, this recent swing low. So I think it is going to come down to here. But again, I wanted to get something out of this day. So that's 83.52, and that gets us to within $145 of completing one of the evaluations. So I'll add another PA to the corral. All right, so I think we made the right decision, because you can see it is bouncing against this right now. So just relieve ourselves of some stress, pick up, $85, and move on to the next trade. And we're getting close to the end of the live session anyway, because I hate to leave a trade open and then end the live stream and you don't see how it plays out. My gut is that we are going to continue down lower. I think it's just stalling here, and I think we will find ourselves testing this swing low. But you never know. A lot of times these lines here, they'll create resistance, and then eventually we'll punch through. Yeah, because we even have we have a supply zone that's formed here anyway. So I think that's what we're bouncing up against right now. When we have this drastic move down and then a reversal, and it leaves this area quickly, that leaves behind an area of supply. It's unlikely everybody who wanted to buy was able to get in here because it took off so fast. So that means that perhaps when it comes to visit, those same buyers will still be there waiting to try to get in on it. And so that'll cause this to stall out. Yeah, so it's still fighting this area, and that comes back to this area here of supply. That's what caused this to reverse, and that's what's causing this to pause, I believe. Well, we should have made a hell of a lot more money today, because we were too hesitant on some very nice trades earlier, and that would have easily been 3 5-point trades. So that's minimum of $750 plus the 80 we just made. So we're well over 800 if we wouldn't be so chicken shit about our trades. But that's what comes with time. You get better and better. And again, it's like when you get so close to finishing an eval, you get skittish because you don't want to go backwards. But at the same time, how can you finish it if you don't take the proper trade? So it's a process of getting your psychology in line, and that's what I'm still working on. And that's the main reason I started this, was to get my psychology in line. All right. Well, it is now coming up on 11 o'clock Eastern, and that's going to be the end of my live stream. I'll probably continue to trade throughout the day. I hope you'll join me again on tomorrow morning. Please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and also hit that bell icon so that you'll get notified whenever I go live. Usually I'm here Monday through Friday from 9:30 Eastern till 11 o'clock Eastern. Also, let me remind you that the funding company that I trade with, Apex, is having an 80% off sale, and those are lifetime 80% off. So as long as it takes you to complete your evaluation, it'll be 80% off. I like the 50Ks. I use those, but you can buy a 25K. It's a little cheaper. Or if you like more drawdown, you can get the bigger ones. The 50Ks are less than $40 now, and that's for life, and that's your maximum risk. So if you use my code, KOWAAPXK, I get a little something from that so that I can continue to support this channel and upgrade my equipment and whatnot. I appreciate it. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.